Hello there. Welcome back, or welcome for the first time. Tonight, there is nothing you need to remember, nothing you need to do. If you are carrying something heavy, a grudge, a regret, an old wound that still aches when the house goes quiet, you can set it down here. Tonight, we explore something your body has been quietly waiting for. Not a command, not a lesson. Just 100 gentle facts about the science of forgiveness and how, when you let go of resentment, your blood pressure softens, your muscles unclench, and your cells begin to whisper, "You are safe now." If you find these facts soothing, a like or a subscribe helps other sleepy souls find their way here too. One quiet night at a time. But there is no rush. Just settle in. Let your eyes close whenever they are ready. And let these quiet truths drift through you, like warm light through an open window. Forgiveness is not about the other person. It is your body's quiet way of setting itself free. And that is what we explore tonight. The body remembers what the mind replays. When you recall a grudge, your body reacts as if the hurt is happening right now. The brain does not distinguish well between a remembered offense and a present threat. The amygdala, a small, almond-shaped region deep in the temporal lobe, activates the same cascade of fight-or-flight chemicals, whether the danger is real or remembered. Researchers at Hope College, led by Charlotte Vanoyen-Whitfleet, asked participants to recall offenses while monitoring their physiology. Within seconds, heart rate climbed, blood pressure rose, and skin conductance spiked, all from a memory. It is like pressing play on an old film. The projector heats up. The room grows tense. The shadows flicker across the wall, even though the scene ended long ago. The body does not know the difference. It only knows the signal. Perhaps you might notice if your shoulders have drifted upward. If you would like, you can let them settle. There is nothing to brace for right now. The body holds what the mind has not yet released, and that is where we begin. Cortisol, the hormone of holding on. Every time you replay a resentment, your body floods with cortisol. This is the primary stress hormone, produced by the adrenal glands sitting just above your kidneys. In small, brief bursts, cortisol is protective. It sharpens focus, quickens reaction. But when grudges keep it elevated day after day, night after night, it begins to erode the very systems it was meant to protect. Chronic cortisol disrupts sleep architecture. It suppresses immune function. It interferes with digestion and memory consolidation. Research suggests that grudge recall alone can increase cortisol levels by roughly 20%. Within minutes, a surge the body was never designed to sustain. Cortisol in excess is like leaving the engine running all night. The car goes nowhere, but the fuel burns away quietly in the dark. You can let your breath be ordinary right now. No need to breathe deeply or slowly. Just breathe. That is enough. The body was never designed to hold onto anger forever. It was designed to let it pass through, like weather across an open plain. The amygdala, your brain's alarm system, a tiny, almond-shaped structure tucked into each hemisphere of your brain, decides, in fractions of a second, whether you are safe. The amygdala is your sentinel. It scans for threats before you are even consciously aware of them. And when resentment lingers, it interprets that emotional memory as ongoing danger. The alarm stays on. The body stays braced. The muscles stay tense, even in the quiet of your bedroom. Even with the lights turned low, the amygdala whispers, something is still wrong. Neuroimaging studies have shown that amygdala activity can decrease by up to 30% during forgiveness imagery exercises, simply by imagining the act of letting go. The alarm does not need to ring forever. It just needs a signal that the threat has passed. The amygdala in grudge mode is like a smoke alarm that cannot tell the difference between a house fire and a piece of burnt toast. It rings with the same urgency for both. Maybe the muscles around your eyes are holding something right now. You can soften them, gently. There is nothing you need to watch for. And perhaps, somewhere beneath the alarm, there is a quiet place that already knows you are safe. The muscles that clench around old pain. When you hold resentment, your muscles tighten, sometimes even while you sleep. The trapezius, that broad muscle stretching from your neck to your shoulders, contracts. The jaw clenches. The lower back stiffens. These are not random responses. They are the body's way of armoring itself against a threat it believes is still present. Electromyography studies, which measure electrical activity in muscles, show elevated tension during grudge recall, particularly in the forehead and shoulders. The body enters a low-grade defensive posture, and it may hold that posture for hours, days, even years. Your muscles hold memories the way soil holds seeds. Some bloom into tension. Others wait quietly for the warmth of release. If your jaw is clenched right now, that is okay. You can let it fall open, just slightly. Let the teeth part. Let the tongue rest heavy in your mouth. There is nothing to say right now. The body armors itself out of love. It is trying to protect you. But sometimes, the armor grows heavier than the wound. The heart rate of resentment. Thinking about someone who hurt you can raise your heart rate by 8 to 11 beats per minute. That may not sound like much, but over hours, over nights, over years, those extra beats add up to a heart that never fully rests. The sympathetic nervous system, the branch responsible for acceleration, kicks in during grudge recall, as if preparing you to fight or flee from a threat that is no longer present. Your heart does not know the offense happened last month or last decade. It only knows the signal it receives right now. Whitfleet's physiology studies at Hope College measured this increase within 30 seconds of participants recalling an offense. 30 seconds. That is how quickly the body responds to a memory it has not been allowed to release. An unforgiving heart beats like a fist tight, fast, bracing for something that already happened. A forgiving heart beats like a tide open, rhythmic, patient. Notice your breath for a moment. It does not need to be deep or special. Just noticed, just felt. The heart is patient. It will wait for you to be ready. Blood pressure and the weight of old wounds. People who carry grudges tend to have higher resting blood pressure. Not dramatically, not dangerously in most cases, but measurably. Chronic resentment keeps the cardiovascular system in a state of low-grade alert. And over time, this persistent vigilance contributes to vascular stiffness and hypertension. Lawler and colleagues found that dispositional forgiveness, the general tendency to let go rather than hold on, predicted lower ambulatory blood pressure measured over 24 hours. Not just in moments of calm, but throughout the entire day and night. The blood pressure of forgiving individuals was consistently, gently lower. It is as though the blood itself grows heavier when it carries unfinished business, as though each unresolved resentment adds a small, invisible weight to every heartbeat. Your chest may be tight right now. Imagine it softening, like wax near a warm candle, not melting away, just easing. The body does not ask for perfection. It asks for permission. Even partial release is enough to lighten the load. The immune system slows down. Unforgiveness may quietly weaken your immune defenses. When cortisol remains elevated, it suppresses the production of lymphocytes, the white blood cells responsible for fighting infection and repairing damaged tissue. A body stuck in grudge mode diverts energy from healing to guarding, from repair to vigilance. Studies on chronic psychological stress show reduced natural killer cell activity in individuals with high hostility and resentment scores. The immune system, which should be patrolling and protecting, instead retreats overwhelmed by the constant chemical signal of threat. The immune system is like a gardener. When all its time is spent building walls, it forgets to tend the flowers. The garden does not die, but it waits. Let your tongue rest away from the roof of your mouth right now. There is nothing to say, nothing to hold in place. Somewhere inside, the gardener is still there, still ready, still waiting for the signal that it is safe to begin again. Rumination, the loop that never ends. Rumination is not thinking. It is the same thought, wearing a groove into your brain. The same offense, the same words, the same hurt replayed, not because the mind is seeking a solution, but because the neural circuit has become a habit. Repetitive, negative thinking activates the default mode network in a maladaptive loop. This is the brain's resting state network, the one that activates when you are not focused on the outside world. In healthy function, it daydreams, reflects, imagines. In rumination, it replays, over and over, seeking resolution it cannot find. Functional MRI studies show that chronic ruminators have a hyperactive subgenual anterior cingulate cortex, a region associated with self-blame and emotional pain. The groove deepens with each repetition. Rumination is like stirring a cup of tea that has already gone cold. The motion continues. The spoon circles, but nothing warms. Your hands might be curled right now. You can open them, palm up, like someone releasing a small bird. Let the fingers soften. Let the palms rest. The loop does not need your attention tonight. You can step out of it, even for a moment. Skin conductance and the sweat of resentment. Your skin sweats more when you think about someone who wronged you. This is not the sweat of exertion or heat. It is electrodermal activity, a direct measure of sympathetic nervous system arousal. When resentment activates the stress response, the sweat glands in your palms and fingertips respond almost instantly. Hope College experiments measured skin conductance alongside heart rate and blood pressure during grudge recall, and found all three elevated in tandem. The body speaks in unison, every system echoing the same message: danger, danger, danger. Even when the room is quiet, even when the threat is only a memory, the skin whispers what the mouth will not say: I am still afraid. I am still bracing. I have not yet let go. Notice your feet right now. They are holding you, even as you rest. You can let them soften too. There is nowhere to walk toward tonight, nowhere to walk away from. The skin will calm when the mind allows it. And perhaps tonight, the mind is already beginning to allow. The breath that tightens. When resentment activates the stress response, breathing becomes shallow and fast. The diaphragm, the dome-shaped muscle beneath your lungs, contracts under tension, reducing the depth of each breath. Less air enters. Less oxygen reaches the blood, and the feeling of unease deepens. Not because of any new threat, but because the body has forgotten how to breathe fully. Breathing patterns during grudge recall show increased respiratory rate and decreased tidal volume, the amount of air in each breath. The chest rises quickly, the shoulders lift, and the belly holds tight. It is the breathing of someone who is ready to run. Breath held in anger is like a bird trapped in a room fluttering against the glass, beating its wings, but going nowhere. The space behind your forehead, let it widen, if you can, like a sky after rain. There is room there. There has always been room. The breath does not need to be fixed. It only needs to be freed. The adrenal glands work overtime. Your adrenal glands do not know the difference between a real threat and a remembered one. These small, triangular organs perched atop your kidneys produce adrenaline and noradrenaline, the chemicals of urgency, of readiness, of alarm. In a true emergency, they are life-saving, but in the slow burn of chronic resentment, they become a source of quiet exhaustion. Every grudge replay triggers a microsurge of adrenaline. The heart accelerates. The pupils dilate slightly. The muscles tense. And then, when the memory fades, the system does not fully reset because another memory is already waiting. It is like a fire station where the alarm rings every hour. The firefighters never sleep. The trucks never cool. And eventually, even the bravest among them grows weary. Your belly can be soft right now. It does not need to hold anything in. Let it rise and fall on its own, without direction. The adrenal glands were made for sprints, not marathons. And tonight, there is no race to run. Inflammation, the silent fire. Chronic resentment may fuel low-grade inflammation throughout the body. When cortisol stays elevated for too long, it paradoxically loses its ability to suppress the immune system's inflammatory response. The result is a quiet, persistent fire not hot enough to notice, but warm enough to cause damage over time. Pro-inflammatory cytokines, small signaling proteins, increase under chronic psychological stress. These molecules have been linked to cardiovascular disease, depression, and accelerated aging. The body does not burn dramatically. It smolders. Inflammation from resentment is like embers left in a fireplace long after the flames have died. The room looks calm, but beneath the ash, something still glows. Let your elbows grow heavy right now. Let them sink into whatever is beneath you, the pillow, the mattress, the quiet air. The fire does not need more fuel tonight. You can let it rest. The hippocampus under siege. The part of your brain responsible for forming new memories can actually shrink under chronic stress. The hippocampus, a seahorse-shaped structure in the temporal lobe, is remarkably sensitive to cortisol. Prolonged exposure damages its neurons, impairing memory consolidation and emotional regulation. This is one reason why chronic grudge holders sometimes feel foggy, forgetful, or emotionally reactive in ways they cannot explain. The hippocampus is not failing. It is simply overwhelmed. The hippocampus, under chronic stress, is like a librarian working in a building where the fire alarm never stops. The books are still there. The shelves are intact, but the work of organizing, filing, and remembering becomes nearly impossible amid the noise. Your ankles are quiet now. Nothing to walk toward, nothing to walk away from, just stillness. The hippocampus heals when the alarm finally falls silent. And silence, sometimes, begins with a single breath, digestion and the gut of grievance. Your gut has its own nervous system, and it feels your grudges too. The enteric nervous system contains over 100 million neurons, more than the spinal cord. It governs digestion independently of the brain. But it listens to the brain's emotional signals with extraordinary sensitivity. When resentment activates the stress response, blood flow diverts away from the digestive tract toward the muscles and heart. Gut motility slows or becomes erratic. The microbiome, that vast community of bacteria in your intestines, shifts under chronic stress, favoring species associated with inflammation. The gut is like a quiet river. When the weather is calm, it flows smoothly. But when storms rage upstream, when the mind churns with unresolved anger, the water grows turbid, the banks erode, and the fish hide. Perhaps you can let your breath settle into your belly now. Let the abdomen soften. Let the breath reach all the way down, like water finding its own level. The gut does not hold grudges by choice. It holds what the mind sends down. The vagus nerve goes quiet. The longest nerve in your body runs from the brainstem through the neck, past the heart, through the lungs, and deep into the abdomen. This is the vagus nerve, the wanderer, and it is the primary channel through which your brain tells your body you are safe. You can rest. Vagal tone, a measure of how effectively this nerve operates, decreases during chronic stress. When resentment keeps the sympathetic nervous system dominant, the vagus nerve's calming signal grows faint. The heart beats faster than it needs to. The breath stays shallow. The gut remains uneasy. The vagus nerve in a resentful body is like a radio playing a lullaby in a room full of shouting. The music is still there, but it cannot be heard above the noise. Let your tongue rest now. Let it fall away from the roof of your mouth. Heavy and still. There is nothing to say. The vagus nerve is still playing its quiet song. It has never stopped. It is only waiting for the room to grow still enough to be heard. Sleep architecture fractures. Grudge holders spend less time in deep sleep and more time in light. Restless stages. Elevated cortisol at night disrupts the transition from stage 2 sleep into slow wave sleep, the most restorative phase. When the brain consolidates memories, the body repairs tissue, and growth hormone flows. Without adequate slow wave sleep, you wake feeling unrested even after 8 hours. The night passes, but the restoration does not happen. Resentment, in this way, steals not just your waking peace but your sleeping peace as well. Sleep disturbed by grudges is like rain falling on a roof with holes. The water comes down, but it does not collect where it is needed. It leaks through, pooling in the wrong places. Maybe you are lying down right now. Maybe you can feel the surface beneath you, the weight of your body pressing gently into it. Let that weight be welcome. Let it be enough. Sleep is not something you have to earn. It is something your body already knows how to do when the signal of safety arrives. The jaw that carries unspoken words. Many people clench their jaw at night, and resentment may be one reason why. Bruxism, the unconscious grinding or clenching of teeth during sleep, is strongly linked to psychological stress and unresolved emotional conflict. The temporomandibular joint becomes a physical repository for everything the mouth never said. The jaw is one of the strongest muscles in the human body. It can exert over 100 pounds of force, and when it clenches around old anger, around words swallowed, arguments abandoned, truths never spoken, it does so with remarkable persistence. The jaw is like a door that has been pushed shut and held there by someone who is afraid of what might come through. But nothing is coming. The hallway is empty. If your jaw is tight, you can let it soften now. Let the teeth part by a hair's width. Let the lower jaw hang, just slightly, as though gravity were gently pulling it open. The words do not need to be said tonight. The jaw can rest. Mirror neurons and shared suffering. When you hold a grudge, your mirror neurons keep reenacting the pain. Mirror neurons are specialized cells that fire both when you perform an action and when you observe or vividly recall someone else performing it. They are the neural basis of empathy, of understanding, of feeling what another person feels. But in grudge mode, they become instruments of repetition. Every time you replay the offense, your mirror neurons activate as though the event were happening again. Your body re-experiences the hurt. Your muscles tense in the same patterns. Your heart rate rises in the same rhythm. Mirror neurons in grudge mode are like an echo in a canyon. The original sound has long since faded, but the walls keep sending it back. Your hands can be open now, palms soft, fingers uncurled, like leaves floating on still water. The mirror neurons can reflect something new whenever you are ready. They do not only replay pain, they also mirror peace. The prefrontal cortex loses its voice. The rational part of your brain grows quieter when resentment takes over. The prefrontal cortex, located just behind your forehead, is responsible for perspective taking, impulse control, long-term planning, and the ability to see beyond the present moment. It is the part of you that can say this happened, but it does not define me. Chronic amygdala activation suppresses prefrontal function. The more the alarm rings, the less the voice of reason can be heard. It is not that the prefrontal cortex disappears, it is simply drowned out. The prefrontal cortex, under chronic resentment, is like a lighthouse in a storm. The light still turns. The beam still sweeps. But the waves are so high that the ships cannot see it. The space behind your forehead can widen now. Let it open. Softly, like a window letting in morning air. The lighthouse is still there. The storm does not have to last forever. Telomeres and the aging of anger. Unforgiveness may quietly shorten the protective caps on your chromosomes. Telomeres are repetitive sequences of DNA at the ends of each chromosome, like the plastic tips on shoelaces that prevent fraying. Each time a cell divides, telomeres shorten slightly. When they become too short, the cell can no longer divide effectively. This is one mechanism of biological aging. Chronic psychological stress accelerates telomere shortening. And among the strongest psychological predictors of shortened telomeres are hostility and persistent resentment. The body ages not just with time, but with the weight it carries. Telomeres wearing down from resentment are like the edges of a beloved book. The more it is gripped, the more the pages fray. But a book resting gently on a shelf keeps its edges smooth for decades. Your hands can rest now. There is nothing to grip, nothing to hold tightly. The body ages in its own time, but it does not need resentment to help it along. The stress response was meant to be temporary. Your fight or flight system was designed for minutes, not months or years. In its original evolutionary context, the stress response was a brilliant survival tool, a burst of cortisol, adrenaline, and muscular readiness that allowed you to escape a predator or face an immediate threat. It was meant to flare, resolve, and return to baseline. But chronic grudge stress hijacks this system. It keeps the emergency channel open long after the emergency has passed, and every organ it touches heart, lungs, gut, brain, immune system pays the price of perpetual readiness. A stress response that never ends is like a sprinter who never stops running. The muscles burn, the lungs gasp, and eventually, the body simply cannot sustain the pace. Let your whole body settle now. Let it sink a little deeper into whatever holds it. You do not need to be ready for anything. The sprint is over. The path is quiet. And tonight, rest is the only finish line. Emotional memory consolidation. The brain encodes emotional memories more deeply than neutral ones. This is by design. The amygdala tags experiences with strong emotional charge for priority storage, ensuring that threats are remembered vividly so they can be avoided in the future. But this same mechanism makes grudge memories remarkably persistent. They are etched more deeply, recalled more vividly, and resist the natural fading that other memories undergo. A hurtful word spoken 10 years ago can feel as sharp as one spoken yesterday because the amygdala marked it as urgent, and the brain has faithfully preserved it. Emotional memories are like carvings in stone. The chisel struck once, long ago, but the letters remain clear. Neutral memories are like writing in sand. The tide smooths them away. Your eyes can be soft now, closed or half closed. It does not matter. Let the lids rest with their own gentle weight. The carving in the stone does not have to be read tonight. It will still be there tomorrow. But tonight, you can look away. The sympathetic nervous system never rests. In someone who holds grudges, the accelerator of the nervous system stays pressed. The sympathetic branch, the half of the autonomic nervous system responsible for arousal, alertness, and action, maintains a low-grade state of activation. Heart rate stays slightly elevated. Breathing remains slightly shallow. Muscles stay slightly tense. Without forgiveness, the parasympathetic branch, the brake, the calmer, the rest and digest system cannot fully engage. It tries. It pushes back. But the accelerator is stronger, and the car keeps rolling forward, even when there is nowhere to go. A nervous system stuck in sympathetic overdrive is like a room where the lights never turn off. You can close your eyes, but the brightness leaks through. Rest comes, but it is never complete. Let your shoulders drop now. Let them fall as far as they want to go. They have been holding something. They can set it down. The brake is there. The parasympathetic system is waiting. It only needs a moment of permission to begin. Pain sensitivity increases. People who score lower on forgiveness scales tend to feel physical pain more intensely. Chronic stress, sustained by resentment, lowers the pain threshold by sensitizing central pain pathways. The body becomes hypervigilant, not just to emotional threats, but to physical sensation as well. This means that a headache feels sharper, a backache lingers longer, A bruise seems to ache more deeply. The body, already on alert, interprets every signal as potentially dangerous. The volume on pain has been turned up, and resentment is one of the hands on the dial. Increased pain sensitivity from grudges is like wearing thin shoes on a gravel road. Every pebble is felt. Every stone presses through. But with thicker soles with the cushion of release, the same road becomes walkable. Your body can be soft now. If there is any discomfort, you do not need to fight it. Just notice it. The way you might notice a cloud passing. It is there, and then it moves on. The body was not meant to feel everything at full volume. Forgiveness is one way it learns to turn the dial back down. The body waits for permission to heal. Perhaps the most remarkable thing about everything we have explored in this first collection of facts is this: your body already knows how to let go. Every system burdened by resentment, the heart, the muscles, the cortisol pathways, the amygdala, the vagus nerve has a built-in recovery mechanism. The stress response can reverse. Cortisol can normalize. The heart can slow. The immune system can rebuild. The hippocampus can heal. The body does not need a complicated instruction. It does not need a decision made in the bright light of day. It simply waits quietly, patiently for the signal that the threat has passed, for a single moment of release, for the faintest whisper of permission. Your body is like a garden in winter. Everything needed for spring is already there: the seeds, the roots, the quiet potential, all waiting beneath the surface for the warmth to arrive. And that is what the next 25 facts are about. Not the cost of holding on, but the quiet miracle of what happens when you finally give your body that permission. When you stop gripping, when you soften, when you allow the winter to end. Let your whole body rest now. Let every muscle find its own weight. Let your breath flow without guidance. The garden is patient. And spring, when it comes gently. The first breath after letting go. The moment you begin to release a grudge, your breathing deepens often before you even realize it. The diaphragm, which had been held taut by the sympathetic nervous system, softens. The ribcage expands, and the lungs, which had been drawing shallow, hurried breaths, suddenly fill with something slow and wide. This is not a conscious decision. It is the body's first response to the faintest signal of safety. Before the mind has fully processed the intention to forgive, the respiratory system has already begun to change. Studies on breathwork and emotional release show that respiratory depth increases measurably within the first minutes of guided forgiveness exercises. The first breath after letting go is like the first rain after a long drought. The earth does not need to be told what to do. It simply opens. Perhaps you might notice your own breath right now. Not changing it, just noticing how deep it goes, how far it reaches into your body. The breath has been waiting, and it knows, before you do, when the holding has begun to ease. Cortisol begins to fall. Forgiveness meditation can reduce cortisol levels by approximately 14% over 8 weeks. This is not a dramatic plunge. It is a gentle, steady decline, like a fever slowly breaking. The adrenal glands, which had been producing cortisol in response to chronic resentment, begin to quiet. The signal of threat fades, and the hormone that had been flooding every system in the body begins to recede, like a tide pulling back from the shore. With lower cortisol, sleep improves. Immune function recovers. The hippocampus, no longer under siege, begins to repair. The body does not heal all at once. It heals in layers, in whispers, in small chemical shifts that accumulate over time. Cortisol falling is like snow melting in early spring. You do not see it happen. But one morning, the ground is softer than it was the day before. Let your forehead be smooth now. Let the muscles there release whatever they are holding. There is nothing to figure out tonight. The chemistry of letting go has already begun. It began the moment you stopped feeding the fire. Blood pressure softens. Forgiving individuals show systolic blood pressure roughly 5 millimeters of mercury lower than those who hold grudges. 5 millimeters may sound small, but over 24 hours, over months, over years. That gentle difference translates to less strain on the heart, less pressure on the vessel walls, and a cardiovascular system that runs more quietly. Lawler's research found that this was not situational, it was dispositional. People who tended toward forgiveness in general, not just in specific instances, showed consistently lower blood pressure throughout the day and night. Forgiveness, in this sense, is not a single act. It is a cardiovascular pattern. Blood pressure softening with forgiveness is like a river widening as it reaches the plain. The same water flows, but with less urgency, less friction, less force against the banks. Your chest can soften now. Imagine the space around your heart growing just a little wider, a little more room for each beat. The heart does not need to push so hard when the body feels safe. Heart rate variability improves. Your heart begins to beat with more flexibility, and that is a sign of resilience and calm. Heart rate variability, or HRV, measures the slight variation in time between successive heartbeats. A healthy heart does not beat like a metronome. It speeds up slightly when you inhale and slows down slightly when you exhale. This variability reflects the dynamic balance between the sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous systems. Higher HRV is associated with emotional regulation, stress resilience, and cardiovascular health. Lower HRV is associated with chronic stress, anxiety, and resentment. Forgiveness meditation has been shown to improve HRV by approximately 15%, a quiet but meaningful shift toward a heart that adapts rather than braces. A heart with good variability is like a willow tree in the wind it bends. It sways. It yields. A heart with low variability is like an oak in the same wind strong, but rigid and more likely to break. Notice your heartbeat. If you can, you do not need to feel it in your chest. Sometimes it is in your fingertips, or your neck, or the quiet of your wrists. The heart is learning to flex again, to breathe between its beats. The vagus nerve wakes up. Forgiveness activates the vagus nerve, the body's longest pathway to peace. When you begin the process of letting go, vagal tone increases. The parasympathetic nervous system, which had been suppressed by chronic resentment, regains its voice. The heart slows. The gut settles. The breath deepens. The muscles relax. The vagus nerve is like a river. With many tributaries, it touches the heart, the lungs, the stomach, the intestines. When it is active, every organ along its path receives the same message: rest, digest, repair. When it is suppressed, the body remains in alert mode. guarding against threats that have already passed. Forgiveness meditation, loving kindness practices, and even slow, deliberate breathing have all been shown to increase vagal tone. The nerve responds not to words or decisions, but to the chemical environment of safety. The vagus nerve waking up is like a house coming alive in the morning. One by one, the lights turn on, the pipes warm, the kettle begins to hum. Let your neck soften now. The vagus nerve runs right through it, connecting your brain to your body. Let the passage be open. Let the signal flow. The wanderer is returning home. Tears of release. Emotional tears are chemically different from tears caused by onions or wind. They contain stress hormones, cortisol, adrenocorticotropic hormone, and leucine-enkephalin, a natural painkiller. When you cry from emotional release, your body is literally shedding the chemistry of distress. This is not weakness. It is a biological mechanism for restoration. Studies have shown that people who allow themselves to cry during forgiveness exercises report greater feelings of relief and physical lightness afterward. The body uses tears the way a kettle uses steam to release pressure that has built up inside. Tears of release are like rain falling from a cloud that has grown too heavy. The sky does not apologize for the storm. It simply lets go. And afterward, the air is cleaner, the light is clearer, and the world feels quieter. If you feel something stirring tonight, a warmth behind your eyes, a tightness in your throat that is okay, you do not need to act on it. Just let it be. The body knows how to release. Sometimes it uses breath. Sometimes it uses tears. Both are gentle. Both are enough. Heart coherence. During forgiveness, the heart begins to beat in a smooth, wave-like pattern called coherence. This is a state where the heart rhythm becomes orderly and harmonious, not rigid, but flowing, like a sine wave drawn by a steady hand. Heart coherence is associated with reduced stress, improved emotional regulation, and enhanced cognitive function. Researchers at the HeartMath Institute have measured this pattern during compassion and forgiveness exercises. The heart does not simply slow down, it reorganizes. It finds a rhythm that is efficient, gentle, and deeply restorative. Heart coherence during forgiveness resembles the heart rhythm patterns found during the deepest phases of sleep. Heart coherence is like a cello playing alone in a quiet room. Each note is distinct, but they flow together into something larger, something that fills the space without crowding it. Your heart is beating right now. You do not need to change it. Just notice that it is there, working for you, even in the dark. Coherence is not something you force. It is something the heart finds on its own. When the noise finally fades, the parasympathetic nervous system engages. Forgiveness flips the switch from fight to rest and digest. The parasympathetic branch of the autonomic nervous system, the calmer, the soother, the one responsible for recovery, begins to regain dominance. Heart rate drops. Blood pressure eases. The digestive system resumes its quiet work. The muscles release their defensive tension. This is not an instant flip. It is more like dawn. The light comes gradually, but eventually it fills the room. The parasympathetic system has been waiting behind the sympathetic activation, gently pushing back, looking for any opening. Forgiveness gives it that opening. The parasympathetic system engaging is like the tide coming in on a calm evening. It does not crash. It does not rush. It simply rises, quietly, until the shore is covered. Let your whole body be heavy now. Let gravity do the work. You do not need to hold yourself up. The rest and digest system is designed for exactly this. For the quiet hour, for the still night, for the moment when fighting is no longer needed. Muscle tension dissolves. As resentment leaves, the muscles of the face, neck, and shoulders begin to release. The trapezius, which had been contracted in a low-grade defensive posture, softens. The forehead smooths. The jaw unclenches. The lower back, which had been bracing against an invisible weight, begins to let go. Electromyography studies show that muscle tension decreases during forgiveness visualization even faster than it increases during grudge recall. The body is quick to armor, but it is even quicker to disarm when given the signal of safety. Muscle tension dissolving is like ice thawing in a glass of water. You do not see it happen, but suddenly, the sharp edges are gone, and what remains is smooth, and clear, and still. Maybe there is a place in your body that is still holding on right now. Your neck, your shoulders, your hands. You do not need to find it. Just imagine warmth spreading through your whole body, like sunlight moving slowly across a wooden floor. The muscles will let go when they are ready, and tonight, they are ready. Oxytocin, the molecule of connection. Acts of compassion and forgiveness stimulate oxytocin, release the same hormone that bonds a parent to a child, that flows during an embrace, that rises when you feel truly seen and safe. Oxytocin counteracts cortisol. It lowers blood pressure, reduces anxiety, and promotes feelings of trust and warmth. When you forgive, even in the privacy of your own mind, even lying in the dark, your brain releases oxytocin as though you were being held. The molecule does not distinguish between forgiveness received and forgiveness given. It responds to the act of opening, not the direction it faces. Oxytocin is like warm honey stirred into tea. It does not change the tea itself, but it softens the bitterness. It adds something quiet and sweet to what was already there. Your hands can be open now, palms soft, facing up, as though you were holding something precious and invisible. Oxytocin does not ask for proof. It only asks for willingness. And willingness, sometimes, is as simple as unclenching your hands. Endorphins and the relief of unburdening. Letting go of a grudge can produce a quiet surge of endorphins, the body's own pain relief. Endorphins bind to the same receptors as morphine, creating a sense of ease, of lightness, of gentle warmth. They do not eliminate pain. They change your relationship to it. Studies on emotional catharsis and forgiveness show elevated endorphin levels following exercises that involve releasing long-held resentment. The body, having carried the weight for so long, responds to its removal with biochemical relief, a quiet thank you from the nervous system. Endorphins after forgiveness are like the feeling of removing a heavy backpack after a long hike. The weight is gone, but the body still remembers it. And in the contrast between carrying and release, there is a kind of joy. Let your back soften into whatever supports it. Let the spine lengthen, not with effort, but with ease. The body rewards release. It always has. It has just been waiting for you to try. The immune system rebuilds. As cortisol drops, lymphocyte production increases. Your body starts defending itself again. Natural killer cells, which had retreated under the chemical pressure of chronic stress, begin to circulate more actively. The inflammatory response, which had been dysregulated, begins to normalize. This does not happen overnight, but studies on forgiveness interventions show measurable improvements in immune markers within weeks, not months. The body is remarkably responsive to changes in emotional climate. It does not need the stress to be zero. It just needs it to be less. The immune system rebuilding is like a garden after the rain returns. The soil did not forget how to grow things. The roots did not disappear. They were simply dormant, waiting for moisture. Your body is rebuilding right now, even as you rest, even in the dark, even without your awareness. Let your belly rise and fall softly. The work of healing happens in the quiet places. It does not need your supervision. Serotonin and the return of ease. Reduced stress from forgiveness allows serotonin pathways to function more smoothly. Serotonin, sometimes called the molecule of well-being, regulates mood, appetite, sleep, and social behavior. Chronic stress suppresses serotonin synthesis and receptor sensitivity. When the stress recedes, the pathways clear. This is one reason why people who practice forgiveness often report not just less anger, but more general ease, a quiet satisfaction that was not there before. Not euphoria, not excitement, just the gentle, steady feeling of being okay. Serotonin returning is like the color coming back to a faded photograph. The image was always there, but now the warmth and depth return, and what was muted becomes vivid again. You do not need to feel anything specific right now. Just be here. Just be still. The ease will come. It comes not with effort, but with permission. The gut settles. When the stress response calms, the enteric nervous system resumes its quiet work of digestion. Blood flow returns to the digestive tract. Gut motility normalizes. The microbiome, which had shifted under chronic stress, begins to rebalance. The gut, which had been in a state of low-grade distress, settles like a pond after the wind dies down. The gut-brain axis, the bidirectional communication highway between the intestines and the brain, transmits the signal of calm in both directions. A quieter mind produces a quieter gut, and a quieter gut, in turn, sends signals of safety back up to the brain. The gut settling is like a river returning to its banks after a flood. The water is still there, but it flows where it is meant to flow, calmly, predictably, without erosion. Let your abdomen be soft. Let the breath reach down into your belly without forcing. Like water finding its own depth, the gut has been listening to your mind, and tonight, the message is quiet. Blood chemistry shifts. Inflammatory markers like C-reactive protein may decrease in people who practice forgiveness. CRP is a protein produced by the liver in response to inflammation. It is one of the most common markers doctors use to assess systemic inflammation. Lower CRP is associated with reduced risk of heart disease, stroke, and depression. Forgiveness does not eliminate inflammation, but it removes one of its persistent drivers, the chronic psychological stress of resentment. Without that driver, the body's inflammatory response has a chance to normalize. The fire dims. The markers fall. Blood chemistry shifting toward peace is like a lake slowly clearing after a storm. The sediment settles. The water clarifies, and what was clouded becomes transparent again. You can close your eyes now, if they are not already closed. Let the darkness be soft. Let it be a blanket, not a void. The chemistry of your blood is changing, even now. With every calm breath, with every unclenched muscle, with every moment you choose rest over replay. Breathing deepens naturally. The diaphragm relaxes, and each breath draws in more air without effort. Tidal volume, the amount of air in each breath, increases as the parasympathetic nervous system regains control. The chest rises more slowly. The belly expands more fully. The exhale grows longer, activating the vagus nerve and deepening the signal of calm. This is not a breathing exercise. It is the natural consequence of letting go. The body does not need instruction. It needs permission. And permission, sometimes, is simply the absence of resistance. Breathing deepening naturally is like a flower opening in the morning. No one tells it when. No one pushes the petals apart. The light arrives, and the flower responds. Notice your breath right now. You do not need to change it. Just notice how it moves, how it comes in, how it leaves. The breath knows what to do. It has always known. The skin calms. Electrodermal activity decreases the skin, stops sweating from emotional tension. The sweat glands in the palms and fingertips, which had been responding to the sympathetic nervous system's alarm signals, grow quiet. The skin conductance drops. The surface of your body becomes calm, dry, still. This is measurable within minutes of beginning a forgiveness exercise. The skin, which had been whispering, "I am afraid," begins to say something different, something quieter, something closer to "I am safe." The skin calming is like the surface of a lake going still after the last ripple has traveled to the shore. The water was never broken. It was only disturbed. And now, it reflects again. Your palms can rest now. Let them face up or down, whichever feels more natural. Let the skin breathe. The surface is still, and in the stillness, there is a kind of peace that goes deeper than the skin. Sleep onset quickens. People who score high on forgiveness scales fall asleep roughly 20 minutes faster than those who hold grudges. 20 minutes may not sound transformative, but for someone who lies awake replaying old hurts, 20 minutes is the difference between a restless hour and the soft edge of sleep. Toussaint's research found that unconditional forgiveness, forgiving without requiring an apology or change in the offender, was the strongest predictor of improved sleep onset. Conditional forgiveness, by contrast, kept the stress circuits partially active. The mind still calculating, still waiting. Falling asleep faster with forgiveness is like a door that had been stuck, finally swinging open. The room beyond was always there. The bed was always made. You just could not reach it. If you are lying down right now, let yourself feel the pull of sleep. You do not need to chase it. Just let it approach you, at its own pace, on its own terms. Sleep is closer than you think. It has been waiting for you to stop holding the door shut. Nitric oxide and vascular relaxation. Forgiveness may increase the availability of nitric oxide, a small, simple molecule that relaxes the smooth muscle lining of blood vessel walls. Nitric oxide is a vasodilator. It widens arteries. It improves blood flow. It reduces the pressure the heart must work against. Chronic stress suppresses nitric oxide production. When cortisol stays elevated, the endothelial cells that line your blood vessels produce less of this relaxing molecule. The vessels tighten. The blood flows faster through narrower channels. But when forgiveness reduces cortisol, nitric oxide production can resume, and the vessels slowly, gently open. Nitric oxide widening the blood vessels is like opening the windows in a stuffy room. The air was always there, outside, but now it flows through freely, and the room breathes. Let your whole body feel open right now. Not stretched, not expanded, just open. Like a window, like a door left ajar on a warm night. The blood is flowing more gently than you realize, and with each moment of rest, the channels widen, the eyes soften. Stress hormones can cause dry eyes, pupil dilation, and a subtle tension around the orbital muscles. When the body is in a state of chronic alert, the eyes widen, slightly scanning, searching, watching for threats. This is an ancient reflex, designed to maximize visual input during danger. But when forgiveness calms the stress response, the pupils constrict slightly. The tear film stabilizes. The muscles around the eyes release their grip. The gaze softens. The eyes stop searching and begin to rest. The eyes softening with forgiveness are like the curtains being drawn at the end of a long day. The world is still there, outside, but you do not need to look at it right now. Your eyelids can be heavy. Let them close, or stay half open, whichever is most comfortable. Let the darkness behind them be warm. The eyes have done their work today. They can rest now. There is nothing more to see tonight. Temperature regulation returns. Chronic stress disrupts thermoregulation, the body's ability to maintain a stable internal temperature. Cold hands, cold feet, flushed cheeks, or a persistent feeling of being too warm or too cool can all be signs that the autonomic nervous system is out of balance. When resentment keeps the sympathetic branch dominant, blood flow redirects away from the extremities toward the core, preparing for action. As forgiveness calms the system, peripheral blood flow increases. The hands warm, the feet warm, the body's temperature stabilizes, settling into the gentle range that promotes sleep. Temperature returning to balance is like a house finding its comfortable warmth on a winter evening. The thermostat adjusts, the radiators hum, and slowly, every room reaches the same gentle temperature. Maybe you can feel warmth in your hands right now, or in your feet. Let it spread, slowly, without effort. The body is finding its balance. It is remembering the temperature of peace. The hands unclench. Many people unconsciously ball their fists when thinking about old wounds. The fingers curl inward. The knuckles whiten. The tendons in the forearm tense. This is part of the fight response, the body preparing to strike, to push away, to defend itself. Forgiveness opens the hands. Not because the threat is gone, sometimes it is not, but because the body recognizes that it does not need to fight right now. The fingers relax. The palms soften. The wrists grow quiet. Unclenching the hands after holding a grudge is like releasing a fistful of sand. The grains slip through the fingers. The hand opens, and what remains is not emptiness, but space. Your hands can be completely open now. Let each finger rest separately, as though they were floating. Let the space between them be wide. There is nothing to grip tonight, nothing to push away, just open hands and the quiet air between them. Dopamine pathways clear. Chronic resentment can hijack the brain's reward circuits. Rumination, paradoxically, activates dopamine pathways, not because it feels good, but because the brain treats the search for resolution as a reward-seeking behavior. The mind keeps replaying the offense, hoping for a different outcome, and the dopamine system keeps driving the loop. Forgiveness breaks this cycle. When the resentment releases, the reward system recalibrates. Dopamine is freed to respond to present-moment pleasures, a warm drink, a soft blanket, the sound of rain, the feeling of being held. The brain stops mining the past for satisfaction and turns back toward the present. Dopamine pathways clearing is like unplugging a drain that had been blocked. The water does not rush, it simply flows again, to the places it was always meant to reach. You can let yourself feel comfortable right now, not ecstatic, not overjoyed, just comfortable, just at ease. The reward system does not need to search anymore. What it was looking for is already here. The chest opens. The intercostal muscles between the ribs relax, allowing the ribcage to expand more fully. These small muscles, which connect each rib to the next, play a crucial role in breathing. When they are tense, contracted by stress, by grief, by the weight of unspoken things, the chest feels tight. Breathing feels effortful. There is a sensation of pressure, as though something is sitting on the sternum. As forgiveness softens the stress response, the intercostal muscles release. The ribcage opens like a book laid flat. Each breath fills more of the lungs. The chest, which had been guarding the heart, begins to let the heart breathe. The chest opening is like a bird spreading its wings after a long time in a cage. Not flying, just stretching, just remembering what wingspan feels like. Let your chest be wide now. Let it expand with each inhale, not from effort, but from allowance. Let the ribs move. Let the air reach the places that have been closed. The chest does not need to protect the heart tonight. The heart is safe. Every cell listens. Cellular biology suggests that the biochemical environment created by forgiveness reaches every tissue in the body. Every cell is bathed in the same blood, exposed to the same hormones, responsive to the same chemical signals. When cortisol drops and oxytocin rises, when inflammation recedes and the parasympathetic system engages, every cell receives the message. This is not metaphor. It is physiology. The signal of forgiveness is not confined to the brain or the heart. It travels through the bloodstream to the liver, the kidneys, the skin, the bones. Every tissue responds, in its own way, to the shift from threat to safety. Every cell listening to forgiveness is like every leaf on a tree turning toward the sun. They do not coordinate. They do not plan. They simply respond to the same warmth, each in their own quiet way. Let your whole body be still now. Every part of you, the places you can name and the places you have never thought about, is receiving the same message tonight. And if every cell can hear the signal of release, then perhaps forgiveness is not just a thought. It is a conversation between your mind and every quiet corner of your body. A conversation that has been waiting to happen. A conversation that, tonight, has gently begun. Compassion has a map in the brain. When you feel compassion for another person, Even someone who has hurt you, specific regions of your brain light up in a pattern that is distinct from anger, fear, or sadness. The medial prefrontal cortex, the insula, and the anterior cingulate cortex form a network that neuroscientists call the compassion circuit. These regions work together to help you understand another person's experience without becoming overwhelmed by it. Functional MRI studies by Tanya Singer and colleagues at the Max Planck Institute showed that compassion training activated these regions more strongly after just 7 days of practice. The brain does not simply feel compassion, it builds the architecture for it. Compassion in the brain is like a path worn through a meadow. The first time, you push through tall grass, but with each crossing, the path becomes clearer, smoother, easier to walk. Let your forehead be wide and still. The compassion circuit lives just behind it, quiet, patient, ready. The path is there. It has always been there. It just needs you to walk it. The insula, feeling what others feel. Deep within each hemisphere of the brain lies the insula, a region responsible for interoception, the awareness of your own body's internal state. But the insula does something remarkable. It also activates when you witness or imagine another person's suffering. It is the neural basis of empathy, the bridge between your body and someone else's experience. During compassion-focused forgiveness exercises, the insula activates differently than during grudge recall. In grudge mode, the insula amplifies personal distress. You feel the hurt as your own. In compassion mode, the insula registers the other person's experience without drowning in it. The difference is subtle, but neurologically profound. The insula in compassion mode is like a window with curtains drawn back. You can see outside. You can feel the weather through the glass. But the glass is still there, protecting you, keeping you warm, allowing you to observe without being consumed. Your body can be still now. You do not need to feel anyone else's pain tonight, just your own quiet breath. The insula is always listening, and tonight, it hears only peace. The anterior cingulate cortex choosing kindness. The anterior cingulate cortex, or ACC, sits like a collar around the front of the corpus callosum, the bridge between the brain's two hemispheres. It plays a critical role in conflict monitoring and emotional regulation. When you are deciding whether to hold on to anger or release it, the ACC is the region that mediates the choice. Neuroimaging studies show increased ACC activity during forgiveness decisions. The more active the ACC, the more likely a person is to choose compassion over retaliation. It is as though the brain has a quiet referee, weighing the cost of holding on against the cost of letting go. The ACC choosing forgiveness is like a scale tipping gently, not forced, not dramatic, just the quiet recognition that one side is lighter than the other. Let your breath be slow now, not controlled, just slow. Let each exhale be a little longer than the one before. The referee is quiet tonight. The decision has already been made, and it was the gentle one. Self-compassion activates the same circuits. Forgiveness directed inward toward yourself activates the same neural compassion network as forgiveness directed outward. The brain does not distinguish between the self and the other when it comes to compassion. The medial prefrontal cortex, the insula, the ACC, they all respond when you turn kindness toward your own pain, your own regret, your own imperfection. Kristin Neff's research on self-compassion shows that people who treat themselves with the same kindness they would offer a friend experience lower cortisol, lower anxiety, and higher vagal tone. The body does not know whether the compassion flows in or out. It only knows whether compassion is present. Self-compassion is like watering the garden from the inside. The flowers do not care which direction the rain comes from. They only know that they are being nourished. If there is something you have not forgiven yourself for, you can set it down here, not resolve it, not examine it, just set it down. The way you would set a heavy stone on the earth. The earth can hold it, and so can the quiet of this moment. Neuroplasticity, the brain rewires for forgiveness. Every time you practice forgiveness, the neural pathways associated with compassion grow stronger. This is neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to reorganize itself in response to repeated experience. The more you walk the path of letting go, the easier the path becomes. Longitudinal studies on meditation and forgiveness training show measurable increases in gray matter density in the compassion-related regions after 8 weeks. The brain physically changes, not because of medication or surgery, but because of repeated intention. Neuroplasticity is like water carving a channel through stone. The first drops seem insignificant, but over time, the channel deepens, and the water flows where it has learned to flow. Your brain is changing right now, even as you listen, even as you rest. Every moment of calm reinforces the circuits of peace. The path grows clearer with each step, and tonight, you are walking it. The default mode network calms. The default mode network, the brain's resting state circuit that was hijacked by rumination, begins to function healthily again. Instead of replaying grudges, it starts to daydream, imagine, and reflect in constructive ways. The subgenual anterior cingulate cortex, which had been hyperactive during rumination, quietus. Mindfulness-based forgiveness practices have been shown to reduce default mode network hyperactivity, particularly in the posterior cingulate cortex and medial prefrontal cortex. The brain's idle mode stops spinning in circles and begins to rest, truly rest for the first time in a long time. The default mode network calming is like a record player that had been skipping on the same groove finally moving forward. The music resumes. The song continues, and it is more beautiful than you remembered. Let your mind drift now. You do not need to focus on anything. Let the thoughts come and go, like clouds crossing a sky that belongs to no one. The mind can wander peacefully tonight. The groove has been smoothed. The music plays on. The orbitofrontal cortex and moral reasoning. The orbitofrontal cortex, located just above and behind your eyes, helps you evaluate rewards, punishments, and moral decisions. When you are holding a grudge, this region is often hyperactive, constantly calculating the moral ledger, weighing the offense, seeking justice that may never come. Forgiveness does not bypass the orbitofrontal cortex. It changes what the region calculates. Instead of computing what is owed, it begins to evaluate what is needed for peace, for healing, for rest. The moral calculation shifts from justice to mercy, not because justice does not matter, but because mercy is less expensive. The orbitofrontal cortex, shifting from justice to mercy, is like a bookkeeper who realizes that some debts are better written off than collected. The ledger still exists, but the weight of it lifts. Your mind can be quiet now. There is no accounting to be done tonight. No debts to track. No calculations to make. The ledger can close. And in the closing, there is a kind of rest that arithmetic cannot provide. The temporoparietal junction perspective taking. The ability to see through another person's eyes is located in the temporoparietal junction, or TPJ, a region where the temporal and parietal lobes meet. This area is critical for theory of mind, the capacity to understand that other people have thoughts, feelings, and motivations different from your own. Forgiveness requires the TPJ. It requires the ability to hold two truths at once: that someone hurt you, and that they are more than the worst thing they did. Neuroimaging shows that greater TPJ activation during perspective-taking exercises correlates with greater willingness to forgive. The TPJ is like standing on a hilltop and seeing two valleys at once. You do not have to choose one. You simply see them both, one where the hurt happened, and one where the healing can begin. You do not need to understand anyone tonight. You do not need to take anyone's perspective but your own. And your perspective, right now, can simply be: I am here. I am resting. That is enough. Mirror neurons shift from pain to peace. The same mirror neurons that reenacted pain during grudge recall can also mirror compassion. When you visualize the act of forgiveness, even silently, even in the dark, your mirror neurons activate as though forgiveness were actually happening. The body responds to the imagined release almost as strongly as it responds to the real thing. This is why guided forgiveness meditations can produce measurable physiological changes even when the offender is not present. Even when the relationship has not been repaired. The brain and body do not need the external world to change. They only need the internal signal to shift. Mirror neurons shifting from pain to peace is like a tuning fork that had been vibrating at the frequency of anger, finally being touched by a gentler note. The old vibration fades. The new one settles in. Your body can be still now. Let every part of you resonate with this stillness. Not empty, not numb, just still. The mirror neurons are listening, and tonight they are reflecting something new. The reward system reorients. Forgiveness activates the ventral striatum, a region of the brain associated with reward and positive reinforcement. When you let go of a grudge, the brain registers the release as genuinely rewarding, not in the hollow way that rumination-activated dopamine, seeking resolution that never came, but in a deep, settling way, the reward of a burden set down. Research has shown that participants who successfully forgave during experimental tasks showed increased ventral striatum activation, the same region that lights up during experiences of generosity, cooperation, and social bonding. The brain is wired to reward letting go. The reward system reorienting toward forgiveness is like a compass needle finally settling on true north after spinning for a long time. The needle was never broken. It was only confused by too many magnetic fields. Once they clear, it points home. Let something in your body feel good right now. The warmth of a blanket, the softness of a pillow, the simple fact that you are breathing. The reward system does not need grand gestures. It celebrates the quiet ones. Empathy fatigue lifts. Chronic grudge holders often experience a paradoxical numbness. They feel too much of their own pain and too little of everything else. This is empathy fatigue, the emotional circuits. Overwhelmed by persistent resentment, begin to shut down. The capacity to feel joy, tenderness, curiosity, and connection diminishes not because these emotions are gone, but because the system has been drained. Forgiveness reverses empathy fatigue by reducing the chronic load on the emotional processing circuits. As the amygdala quiets and the insula recalibrates, the full spectrum of emotional experience returns. People who forgive report not just less anger, but richer emotional lives. Empathy, fatigue, lifting is like color returning to the world after weeks of overcast sky. The colors were always there in the leaves, the buildings, the faces, but the light was too flat to see them. Now the sun breaks through, and everything shimmers. Your heart is open enough tonight. You do not need to feel deeply. Just let the numbness soften. If there is any, let the edges blur. The full spectrum is still there. It is returning, gently, one feeling at a time. The brainstem quiets its alarm. Deep beneath the cortex, beneath the limbic system. The brainstem governs your most basic survival reflexes: heart rate, breathing, arousal, the startle response. During chronic resentment, the brainstem remains in a subtly elevated state of alertness. Coos. The startle reflex is heightened. The baseline arousal is higher than it should be. Forgiveness-related relaxation has been shown to reduce brainstem arousal markers. The most primitive part of your brain, the part that has been scanning for danger since before you could speak, begins to recognize that the danger has passed. The brainstem quieting is like a night watchman who has been standing at the gate since dawn. When someone finally comes to relieve him, he does not leave immediately. He lingers. He checks once more. And then, slowly, he sets down his lantern and walks inside. Your body can stand down now. The watch is over. The gate is quiet. Sleep can approach freely. There is no one left to challenge it. The hippocampus begins to restore. With chronic cortisol reduced, the hippocampus, that seahorse-shaped memory center, begins to repair its damaged neurons. Neurogenesis, the growth of new brain cells. Resumes. Memory consolidation improves. Emotional regulation strengthens. The fog that had settled over thinking begins to lift. Studies on stress recovery show hippocampal volume increases within months of sustained stress reduction. The hippocampus is remarkably resilient. It just needs the toxic chemical environment to change. Forgiveness provides that change. The hippocampus restoring is like a library after a long renovation. The books are being reshelved. The lights are back on. The reading rooms are quiet and orderly again. The knowledge was never lost, it was only hard to find. Your memory does not need to work tonight. There is nothing to remember, nothing to file, nothing to organize. Just rest. The library is being tended. The librarian is back at work, and the books will be there in the morning. The amygdala shrinks toward healthy size. Long-term forgiveness and compassion practices have been associated with reduced amygdala volume, not damage reduction. The amygdala, which had been hypertrophied by chronic threat detection, begins to normalize. The alarm system does not disappear. It simply returns to its appropriate size, calibrated for real threats rather than remembered ones. MRI studies on long-term meditators show this pattern: clearly smaller amygdala volumes, lower reactivity, faster recovery from emotional upset. The alarm still works. It just does not ring for every shadow. The amygdala shrinking to healthy size is like pruning a bush that had grown wild. You do not remove the plant. You shape it. You give it form. And in the shaping, it becomes beautiful again. There is nothing alarming happening right now. Just your breath. Just the dark. Just the quiet turning of the world. The alarm can rest tonight. It is not needed. Gamma brain waves increase. During states of deep compassion, the brain produces gamma waves, the fastest brain waves. Oscillating at 30 to 100 cycles per second, gamma activity is associated with insight, heightened perception, and the integration of information across brain regions. Long-term compassion practitioners show dramatically elevated gamma activity compared to non-practitioners. Richard Davidson's studies at the University of Wisconsin measured unprecedented gamma wave activity in experienced meditators during loving-kindness and forgiveness practices. The brain, during genuine compassion, is not quieting down. It is operating at its highest level of integration and coherence. Gamma waves during compassion are like sunlight passing through a prism. The light does not change, but it separates into every color at once, vivid, complete, whole. You do not need to try to feel compassion right now. Just rest. The brain knows its own rhythms, and sometimes the highest activity emerges from the deepest stillness. The prism catches the light when the light is ready, and the light is patient. The prefrontal cortex regains control. As the amygdala quiets, the prefrontal cortex, the seat of reason, perspective, and long-term planning reclaims its natural authority. The balance between the emotional and rational brain shifts. You can think more clearly. You can see beyond the immediate hurt. You can hold complexity, recognizing the wound while choosing the response. This is not suppression. It is not denial. It is the prefrontal cortex doing what it was designed to do, placing the moment in context, seeing the larger picture, and choosing the response that serves your well-being rather than your reactivity. The prefrontal cortex regaining control is like the captain returning to the bridge of a ship that had been tossed by a storm. The crew is still there. The engines still run. But now, there is a steady hand on the wheel. Your mind can be steady now. Not rigid, steady. Like a candle flame in a room with no wind. It flickers, but it holds. The captain is back. The course is set. And the sea is calm tonight. Social bonding circuits activate. Forgiveness strengthens the neural circuits involved in social connection. The medial prefrontal cortex, the temporoparietal junction, and the posterior superior temporal sulcus regions involved in understanding others, predicting their behavior, and feeling connected to them all show increased activity during forgiveness and compassion exercises. This makes biological sense. Unforgiveness isolates. It builds walls. It narrows the social world to a single relationship defined by hurt. Forgiveness reopens the social field. It reminds the brain that the world contains more than the person who wounded you. Social bonding circuits activating after forgiveness is like a phone line being restored after a long outage. The calls start coming through. The voices return. And you remember that you were never really alone, you just could not hear the others. You are not alone right now. Even in the quiet, even in the dark, the circuits of connection are humming softly, reminding every part of your brain that you belong. And belonging, tonight, is as simple as being here. The cerebellum and emotional memory reconsolidation. The cerebellum, traditionally associated with movement and coordination, also plays a role in emotional processing and memory reconsolidation. Recent research suggests that the cerebellum helps the brain update old emotional memories with new information. During forgiveness, the cerebellum may help overwrite the emotional charge attached to a painful memory, preserving the facts while softening the feelings. This is not forgetting. It is remembering differently. The event remains. The narrative remains. But the body's response to it shifts from activation to neutrality, from alarm to acceptance. Emotional memory reconsolidation is like re-recording a song with the same melody but a gentler arrangement. The notes are the same, but the instruments are softer. The tempo is slower, and what once felt urgent now feels like something heard from a great distance. You do not need to rearrange any memories tonight. Just let them be, wherever they are, in whatever shape they hold. The cerebellum will do its quiet work. It always does. And memories, given time, grow softer on their own. The brain's pain matrix responds. Forgiveness reduces activation in the brain's pain matrix, a network of regions, including the anterior cingulate cortex, the insula, the thalamus, and the somatosensory cortex that process both physical and emotional pain. When you forgive, the overlap between emotional and physical pain decreases. The hurt becomes less embodied. The pain becomes more of a thought and less of a sensation. This is why people who have forgiven often say things like the memory is still there, but it does not hurt anymore. The pain matrix has recoded the experience. The cognitive content remains, but the visceral charge has faded. The pain matrix quieting is like the ringing in your ears after a loud concert slowly fading. At first, it is all you can hear. Then it becomes background. Then it is gone, not because the concert did not happen, but because your nervous system has finished processing it. If there is still something that hurts inside you, that is okay. Pain fades in its own time. You do not need to rush it. Just let it sit beside you tonight, like an old companion who does not need conversation. Just presence. Just shared quiet. Theta waves and the twilight of forgiveness. As forgiveness deepens and the body approaches sleep, theta brain waves begin to emerge slow. Rhythmic waves oscillating at 4 to 8 cycles per second. Theta is the brainwave of the hypnagogic state, the border between waking and sleep. It is associated with deep relaxation, imagery, intuition, and the gentle dissolution of conscious control. Forgiveness practices that extend into the pre-sleep period show increased theta activity, suggesting that the brain is integrating the emotional processing of forgiveness into the transition to sleep. The boundaries between waking thought and dream thought begin to blur. Theta waves are like the last light of sunset, not dark, not light, but something in between. A threshold, a doorway, a soft, amber space where the day releases its hold. You may be near that threshold now, the place where thoughts become images, where images become feelings, where feelings become sleep. You do not need to cross it deliberately. Just rest near it. The door is open, and when you are ready, you will drift through. The amygdala prefrontal connection strengthens. One of the most significant neural changes in people who practice forgiveness is the strengthening of the connection between the amygdala and the prefrontal cortex. This white matter tract, the uncinate fasciculus, allows the rational brain to regulate the emotional brain more effectively. The stronger the connection, the faster the prefrontal cortex can calm the amygdala's alarm. In people with chronic resentment, this connection is often weakened. The alarm rings, and the rational mind cannot reach it in time. But with repeated forgiveness practice, the tract strengthens, the communication improves, and the time between alarm and calm shortens. The amygdala prefrontal connection strengthening is like rebuilding a bridge between two villages that had been isolated by a flood. The villages were always close. The people always cared for each other. They just could not reach one another until the bridge was restored. Let your whole head rest now. The forehead, the temples, the back of the skull, all of it, heavy and still. The bridge is being rebuilt, and traffic, tonight, flows freely. The brain learns to distinguish past from present. One of forgiveness's most profound neural gifts is temporal discrimination, the brain's improved ability to distinguish between past threats and present safety. Chronic resentment collapses time. The old wound feels current. The past offense feels present. The amygdala cannot tell them apart. Forgiveness restores the brain's temporal sense. The prefrontal cortex, now better connected to the amygdala, provides context that was then. This is now. The body stops reacting to the past as though it were happening in real time. The alarm only sounds for current threats. Temporal discrimination is like cleaning a window that had been fogged for so long you forgot there was a view. The past is still visible, but through the glass, not in the room. You can see it without living in it. You are here, in this room, in this moment. The past is behind the glass tonight. It cannot touch you. And the present, this quiet, breathing, resting present is gentle. The insular cortex registers safety. The insula, which once amplified personal distress during grudge recall, now registers a different internal state safety. Interoceptive awareness, the sense of what is happening inside your body, shifts from threat detection to comfort detection. The heart feels steady. The gut feels calm. The muscles feel soft. This shift in interoceptive tone is one of the most intimate effects of forgiveness. The body's internal landscape changes, and the brain, reading that landscape through the insula, updates its assessment. The body is safe. The crisis is over. The insula registering safety is like a weather station, reporting calm after weeks of storm warnings. The instruments are still measuring. The monitors are still on. But what they show now is clear skies. Notice how your body feels from the inside right now. Not how it looks or how it is positioned, but how it feels. What is the internal weather? If it feels calm, that is the insula telling you you are safe. If it does not yet feel calm, that is okay. The weather is changing, and tonight, the forecast is gentle. Neural coherence across regions. During deep forgiveness and compassion states, the brain achieves a remarkable level of interregional coherence. The prefrontal cortex, the limbic system, the brainstem, the cerebellum regions that normally operate semi-independently begin to synchronize. Their rhythms align. Their signals harmonize. The brain, for a brief period, operates as a unified instrument. This coherence is associated with the subjective feeling of wholeness, the sense that everything is connected, that nothing is broken, that the self is complete. It is not a permanent state, but each time it occurs, the neural pathways that support it grow stronger. Neural coherence is like an orchestra reaching the final chord of a symphony. Every instrument plays, every note aligns, and for a single, sustained moment, the sound is not many things, it is one thing, one complete, resonant whole. Your brain is a quiet orchestra tonight. Some instruments are playing, others are resting, but the music, even in its simplest form, is whole. Let the music carry you. Let it be the last thing you hear before the silence of sleep. The brain of compassion is the brain at rest. Perhaps the deepest finding in the neuroscience of forgiveness is this: the brain state associated with genuine compassion closely resembles the brain state associated with deep, restorative sleep, low amygdala activity, high vagal tone, strong prefrontal regulation, theta and delta waves emerging, the default mode network at peace. This convergence suggests that compassion is not an effortful state. It is not something you add to the brain. It is what remains when you remove the noise. Compassion is the brain's natural resting state, the state it returns to when it is no longer defending, attacking, or replaying. The brain of compassion, being the brain at rest, is like discovering that the destination you were traveling toward was the place you started from. You did not need to go anywhere. You just needed to stop running. And so here you are, still, quiet. The journey has brought you back to yourself. Let the next 25 facts come to you like a lullaby you have heard before, but never tire of. Not because the words are new, but because the feeling they carry is exactly what the body needs. The brain is resting, the compassion is flowing, and sleep, if it comes as a friend. Forgiveness and longevity. People who forgive tend to live longer. A large-scale study by Laurent Toussaint and colleagues, published in the Journal of Health Psychology, followed over 1,500 adults and found that those who scored high on measures of unconditional forgiveness had significantly lower mortality risk over a follow-up period of several years. The relationship held even after controlling for age, health behaviors, and social support. This is not a single mechanism. It is the accumulation of everything we have explored tonight: lower cortisol, lower blood pressure, reduced inflammation, better sleep, stronger immunity. Each small physiological benefit, compounded over years, adds up to a body that endures more gently. Longevity from forgiveness is like a river that flows further because it found the smoothest path. It does not rush. It does not fight the banks. It simply flows, and in flowing, it reaches places that a turbulent river never could. Let your body rest in this moment as though you had all the time in the world, because tonight, you do. The body does not count its years. It counts its moments of peace, and this is one of them. Sleep deepens. Forgiveness does not just help you fall asleep faster, it helps you stay in the deepest stages of sleep longer. Slow wave sleep, the most restorative phase, increases when the stress response is quieted. Growth hormone flows more freely. The brain consolidates memories more effectively. Tissues repair. The immune system patrols. Toussaint's sleep research found that forgiveness predicted not just sleep onset, but sleep quality, fewer awakenings, longer duration, and greater subjective satisfaction with rest. The night becomes what it was meant to be, a sanctuary. Deeper sleep from forgiveness is like a well that has been cleared of debris. The water was always there, deep underground. But now, the bucket reaches it, and what comes up is clean and cold and exactly what was needed. If you are drifting right now, let yourself drift. Do not pull back. The water is deep here, and it is safe. Sleep is not a place you go to. It is a place that opens beneath you. When you stop holding yourself above it, the body stops bracing. There comes a moment in the forgiveness process when the body simply stops preparing for a fight that will never come. The shoulders drop permanently. The jaw unclenches and stays unclenched. The belly softens and remains soft. The body, having received enough signals of safety, finally stands down. This is not a dramatic event. It is more like the moment a wave reaches its highest point and begins to return to the sea. There is no sound, no announcement, just a quiet turning. The body stopping its brace is like a fist that has been clenched so long the fingers forgot they were holding anything. And then, one finger at a time, they open, and the hand discovers it is empty. And the emptiness is not loss, it is freedom. Your body can stop bracing now, not because everything is resolved, but because this moment right here, right now, does not require armor. The armor can rest, and so can you. The heart grows quieter. In the truest sense of the word, the forgiven heart beats more quietly. Resting heart rate decreases. The systolic ejection becomes gentler. The valves close with less force. The sound of the heart, if you could hear it, would be softer than before. This is the cardiovascular signature of peace. Not silence, the heart must always beat, but a quietness that suggests efficiency, ease, and the absence of unnecessary effort. A quiet heart is like a clock in a sleeping house. It ticks. It keeps time, but it does not intrude. It simply marks the passing of moments that belong entirely to rest. Your heart is beating quietly right now. It does not need your attention. It does not need your worry. It only needs your rest. Let it beat. Let it be quiet. Let it carry you through this night. The Reach model of forgiveness. Everett Worthington, one of the foremost researchers in the psychology of forgiveness, developed a 5-step model called Reach. Recall the hurt. Empathize with the one who hurt you. Offer the altruistic gift of forgiveness. Commit to the forgiveness you have offered. Hold on to forgiveness when doubt arises. Randomized controlled trials using the Reach model have shown significant reductions in anxiety, depression, and hostility, alongside improvements in hope and self-esteem. The model works not because it erases the hurt, but because it gives the mind a structured path through it. The Reach model is like a trail through a dense forest. The trees are still there. The undergrowth is still thick, but the trail shows you where to place your feet. And with each step, the canopy opens a little more. You do not need to follow any model tonight. You do not need steps or structure, just rest. The trail will be there in the morning, if you choose to walk it. But tonight, the forest is quiet, and the stars are visible through the branches. Blood flows more freely. With lower blood pressure, relaxed vessel walls, and increased nitric oxide, the entire circulatory system operates with less friction. Blood flows more freely to every organ: the brain, the kidneys, the liver, the skin. Oxygen delivery improves. Waste removal becomes more efficient. The body, from a vascular standpoint, operates like a system that has been serviced after years of neglect. This is one of the quietest but most pervasive benefits of forgiveness. Every cell depends on blood flow, and when that flow improves, every cell benefits not dramatically, not suddenly, but steadily, like a garden receiving a gentle, consistent rain. Blood flowing freely is like traffic clearing after rush hour. The roads did not change. The cars did not disappear. There is simply less congestion, and everything moves at the pace it was designed to move. Imagine warmth spreading through your body right now, from the center outward, to the tips of your fingers, to the soles of your feet. That warmth is blood, and it is flowing freely. The roads are open tonight, and every part of you is being reached. The Luskin Forgiveness Method. Frederick Luskin at Stanford University developed a forgiveness training method that has been tested in some of the most difficult contexts in the world, including with mothers in Northern Ireland who had lost sons to political violence. His program, lasting 6 to 8 sessions, produced significant reductions in hurt, increases in optimism, and improvements in physical vitality. Luskin's research demonstrated that forgiveness is not a personality trait reserved for saints. It is a learnable skill. The mothers in his studies did not forget their sons. They did not excuse the violence. They simply found a way to carry their grief without being crushed by it. Learnable forgiveness is like learning to swim in deep water. The depth does not change. The water is still vast and dark, but you learn to float. And floating, it turns out, does not require strength. It requires surrender. You do not need to learn anything tonight. Just float. The water holds you. It always has. And the depth beneath you is not a threat. It is simply the measure of how much the world can hold. The microbiome rebalances. As chronic stress recedes, the community of bacteria in your gut begins to shift. Species associated with inflammation decrease. Species associated with serotonin production, short-chain fatty acid synthesis, and immune regulation increase. The microbiome, that vast ecosystem of trillions of organisms living in your digestive tract, responds to forgiveness through the gut-brain axis. This is not a rapid transformation, but within weeks of sustained stress reduction, microbial diversity begins to increase, a marker of gut health that is associated with better mood, stronger immunity, and more restful sleep. The microbiome rebalancing is like a forest recovering after a fire. The first green shoots appear quickly, then the grasses return, then the wildflowers, and eventually, the trees. The ecosystem was not destroyed. It was only disturbed, and given time, it remembers how to grow. Your belly can be soft and still. The ecosystem inside you is recovering. Quietly, in the dark, the forest is growing back, and you do not need to tend it. You only need to let it be. Pain thresholds rise. As resentment fades, the body becomes less sensitive to pain. The central pain pathways, which had been sensitized by chronic stress, begin to recalibrate. The volume on pain turns down. A headache that once felt sharp now feels dull. A backache that lingered for hours now fades in minutes. This is the reverse of the hypervigilance we explored earlier. As the stress response quiets, the body stops interpreting every signal as dangerous. Pain is still felt, but proportionally, accurately, without amplification. Pain thresholds rising is like replacing thin shoes with thicker ones on that same gravel road. The pebbles are still there, but they do not press through as deeply. The walk becomes easier, and you notice, for the first time, the view. If anything in your body aches right now, let it ache gently. Do not fight it. Just let it exist, like the last note of a song fading into silence. The volume is turning down, and in the quiet, there is comfort. Emotional resilience strengthens. Forgivers bounce back from emotional setbacks more quickly. This is resilience, not the absence of difficulty, but the speed of recovery, the strengthened amygdala prefrontal connection, the higher vagal tone, the normalized cortisol all contribute to a nervous system that can absorb shock and return to baseline more efficiently. Resilience does not mean you do not feel. It means you feel, and then you recover. The wave hits, and the boat rocks, and then the boat rights itself. Each forgiveness practice makes the boat a little more stable. Resilience from forgiveness is like a tree that has learned to bend in the wind. It does not resist the storm. It does not pretend the storm is not happening. It simply bends. And when the wind passes, it stands straight again. You are resilient, even if you do not feel it right now. Even if the day was hard, the fact that you are here, resting, listening, breathing, that is resilience. And resilience, tonight, looks like letting go. Dreams change. People who practice forgiveness report changes in their dream content. Nightmares decrease. Dreams become less threatening, less combative, less populated by adversaries. The sleeping brain, no longer processing chronic resentment, turns its nocturnal attention to other things: exploration, creativity, connection. This makes neurological sense. Dreams are partly the brain's way of processing unresolved emotional content. When resentment is released during waking hours, there is less emotional residue for the sleeping brain to process. The dream landscape shifts from battlefield to garden. Dreams changing after forgiveness is like a theater changing its program. The stage is the same. The curtains are the same, but the play that unfolds is different, gentler, more beautiful, more surprising. If you dream tonight, may the dreams be kind. May they carry you through landscapes you have never seen, toward places that feel like home. The theater is ready, the lights are dimming, and the program tonight is something new. The body's circadian rhythm stabilizes. Chronic stress disrupts the body's internal clock, the circadian rhythm that governs sleep-wake cycles. Hormone release, body temperature, and appetite. Cortisol, which should peak in the morning and fall at night, remains elevated in the evening when resentment keeps the stress response active. This disrupts melatonin production and delays sleep. Forgiveness helps restore the natural cortisol curve. Evening cortisol drops. Melatonin rises on schedule. The body's internal clock, which had been running slightly off, realigns with the night. The circadian rhythm stabilizing is like a clock that had been running fast, finally being reset. The hours do not change, but each one arrives when it should, and the rhythm of the day and the night feels right again. The night is here. Your body knows it, and the internal clock is ticking quietly, in time with the world. Let the night do what it was made to do. Let it hold you. Self-forgiveness and physical health. Forgiving yourself may be even more important for physical health than forgiving others. Research by Wohl, Deshay, and Wakini found that self-forgiveness was a stronger predictor of physical health outcomes, including fewer somatic complaints, better sleep, and lower fatigue than other directed forgiveness. This may be because the grudge you hold against yourself is the one you carry closest. It is the one you replay most often. It is the one that whispers in the quietest moments, when there is no one else to blame. Self-forgiveness is like unlocking a door from the inside. No one else has the key. No one else can turn it. But once it opens, the air that flows through is the freshest you have ever breathed. If you are carrying something tonight, some old shame, some regret, some version of yourself you wish had done better, you can set it down here. Not because it does not matter, but because carrying it has cost you enough. The door is inside you, and the key has always been yours. Forgiveness reduces healthcare utilization. Studies have found that people who score higher on forgiveness scales visit the doctor less frequently. They report fewer physical symptoms, headaches, backaches, stomach problems, fatigue. They use fewer medications for stress-related conditions. The body, freed from chronic resentment, generates fewer complaints. This does not mean forgiveness replaces medicine. It means that when the psychological burden lifts, the body generates fewer signals of distress. The visits decrease not because people ignore their health, but because there is less to report. Fewer doctor visits from forgiveness is like a house that needs fewer repairs because the foundation is solid. The roof does not leak. The walls do not crack. The plumbing runs quietly. Not because the house is new, but because the structure beneath it is sound. Your body is a well-built house, and tonight, the foundation is being tended, rest is repair, and you are repairing right now. Relationships heal. Forgiveness does not always mean reconciliation, but it changes the emotional climate in which relationships exist. When one person in a relationship forgives, the dynamic shifts. Cortisol levels drop in both parties. Communication improves. Trust, which had been eroded, begins to rebuild not overnight, but steadily, like a wall being restored one brick at a time. Research on couples who practice forgiveness shows reduced physiological reactivity during conflict discussions. They still disagree. They still feel hurt, but their bodies do not escalate as quickly. The stress response is gentler. The recovery is faster. Relationships healing through forgiveness are like two rivers that had been dammed finally flowing into the same valley again. The water mingles. The banks soften, and what had been separate becomes, once more, connected. You do not need to heal any relationship tonight. You do not need to reach out, or reconcile, or repair. Just rest. The healing will happen in its own time, and time, tonight, is generous. The breath becomes a rhythm. By this point in the process of letting go, the breath is no longer something you think about. It has become a rhythm automatic, gentle, self-sustaining. The inhale comes because the exhale ended. The exhale comes because the inhale filled you. There is no effort. There is no direction. There is only the quiet tide of air moving through a body that has finally agreed to rest. This respiratory pattern is the signature of the parasympathetic nervous system in full engagement. The breath rate has slowed to perhaps 10 or 12 cycles per minute. The exhale is longer than the inhale. The pause between breaths is natural and unhurried. The breath becoming a rhythm is like the tide becoming predictable. Not because the ocean has lost its power, but because the moon has found its place. The pull is gentle, the rhythm is ancient, and the water moves because it always has. You do not need to breathe right now. You are already breathing. The rhythm found you, and it will carry you. The nervous system finds its balance. The sympathetic and parasympathetic branches of the autonomic nervous system reach a dynamic equilibrium. Neither is dominant. Both are active. But in proportion the way two children on a seesaw find the perfect balance point where neither touches the ground. This is the hallmark of a healthy nervous system, not one that is always calm, and not one that is always alert, but one that can shift between the two with ease. Forgiveness restores this flexibility. The system can still activate when needed, but it can also rest fully when rest is offered. Nervous system balance is like a dancer standing still between movements. The muscles are engaged. The posture is alive. But the body is at ease. It is not frozen. It is poised. Your nervous system is finding its balance tonight. Not perfectly, not permanently, but gently. And gently is enough. Cellular repair accelerates. During deep rest, the body's cellular repair mechanisms operate at their highest efficiency. DNA damage is corrected. Proteins are synthesized. Damaged mitochondria are replaced. The body, freed from the metabolic cost of chronic stress, redirects its energy toward maintenance and restoration. Forgiveness contributes to this by reducing the metabolic burden of the stress response. Less cortisol means fewer resources diverted to emergency functions. More energy is available for the quiet, essential work of keeping every cell in good repair. Cellular repair during rest is like a city maintaining its roads at night. When the traffic has stopped, the work happens in the dark. The workers are quiet, and in the morning, the roads are smoother than they were the day before. Your cells are working right now, quietly, diligently. You do not need to supervise them. The night shift has begun, and the body knows exactly what to do. Gratitude emerges naturally. People who practice forgiveness often report an unexpected side effect gratitude. Not gratitude for the offense that would be denial, but gratitude for the capacity to heal, gratitude for the body that endured, gratitude for the quiet night, the soft pillow, the breath that comes without asking. Neurologically, forgiveness and gratitude share overlapping circuits in the medial prefrontal cortex. When one activates, the other often follows. Letting go of resentment creates space, and into that space, gratitude flows naturally, like water finding a hollow in the ground. Gratitude after forgiveness is like the first birdsong after a long winter. You did not plan it. You did not summon it. But there it is, bright, simple, and entirely sufficient. You do not need to feel grateful right now. But if something small rises in you, a warmth, an ease, a quiet thankfulness for this moment, let it stay. It is enough. It is more than enough. The body temperature settles, As the autonomic nervous system reaches equilibrium, body temperature settles into the range most conducive to sleep, approximately 1 to 2 degrees below daytime temperature. Peripheral vasodilation warms the hands and feet. Core temperature drops slightly. This is the thermoregulatory signature of approaching sleep. Forgiveness facilitates this process by ensuring that the sympathetic nervous system does not interfere with the natural evening drop in core temperature. Without the heat of resentment, the body cools gently, like a stone that has been in the sun all day and is now releasing its warmth into the evening air. Body temperature settling for sleep is like a house growing quiet in the evening. The lights dim. The furnace adjusts. The walls cool. And the house, which had been busy all day, finally exhales. You can feel the coolness settling over you now. Not cold, just cool. The temperature of rest. The temperature of peace. The house is quiet, and the night is doing its work. Melatonin flows. With evening cortisol reduced, the pineal gland, a tiny structure deep in the center of the brain, releases melatonin freely. Melatonin is the hormone of darkness, the chemical messenger that tells every cell in your body night has come. It is time to rest. Melatonin does not force sleep. It invites it. It lowers core temperature. It reduces alertness. It shifts the brain toward theta and delta wave production. It creates the conditions in which sleep becomes not just possible, but inevitable. Melatonin flowing freely is like ink dissolving in water. Slowly, gently, the clear water darkens. Not suddenly, not with force, just a gradual deepening, until the transparency gives way to something soft and opaque. The melatonin is flowing now. You can feel it, or perhaps you cannot, because its work is so gentle that it happens below the level of awareness. The ink is dissolving, the water is darkening, and sleep is very, very close. Delta waves begin. The slowest brain waves, delta waves, oscillating at half a cycle to 4 cycles per second, begin to emerge as you approach deep sleep. Delta waves are the signature of the most restorative sleep stage. They are associated with tissue repair, immune function, memory consolidation, and the release of growth hormone. In this state, consciousness as you know it fades. The mind stops narrating. The body stops guarding. There is only the slow, rhythmic pulse of electrical activity, sweeping across the brain like a tide that covers everything. Delta waves are like the deepest note of a cello, so low it is almost felt rather than heard. It vibrates through the body. It resonates in the bones. And in its presence, everything else grows still. You are very close now. The delta waves are beginning. The deepest part of sleep is opening beneath you like a dark, warm ocean. You do not need to swim. Just let go. The ocean will hold you. The body forgives itself. In the deepest stages of sleep, the body performs its own version of forgiveness. Damaged cells are cleared. Inflammatory debris is swept away. The glymphatic system, the brain's waste clearance mechanism, flushes out the metabolic byproducts of the day. The body forgives itself for the wear of waking hours and quietly begins again. This biological self-forgiveness happens every night. You do not need to direct it. You do not need to understand it. You only need to sleep deeply enough for it to occur. The body forgiving itself in sleep is like a river washing stones smooth. It happens slowly, It happens in the dark, and in the morning. The stones are a little smoother, a little lighter, a little more ready for the water. Your body is forgiving itself right now. For the tension, for the stress, for the holding on. It is clearing away what is no longer needed and keeping what serves you. Let it work. Let it forgive. Let it begin again. Stillness becomes enough. There comes a point where the body and mind align in a single, simple state stillness. Not the absence of something, not emptiness, but a fullness so complete that nothing else is needed. The breath is enough. The heartbeat is enough. The darkness behind the eyelids is enough. This is the state that forgiveness has been building toward, not dramatic transformation, but the quiet arrival at sufficiency, the recognition that this moment, exactly as it is enough, that you, exactly as you are enough. Stillness being enough is like the last snowflake landing on a field already covered in white. It does not change the landscape. It does not add anything visible, but it completes something that was already almost whole. You are enough. This moment is enough. The stillness is complete. And if there is nothing more to say, nothing more to think, nothing more to hold, then the stillness can do what stillness does best. It can let you sleep. The quiet return to peace. This is the last fact, and perhaps it is the simplest. Forgiveness is not a destination. It is a return to the state your body was in before the hurt, before the grudge, before the cortisol and the clenched jaw and the sleepless nights. Your body remembers that state. Every system we have explored tonight, the heart, the muscles, the hormones, the brain, the gut, the immune system has a blueprint for peace. It is written into the biology. It is coded into the cells. Forgiveness does not create peace. It removes the obstacles to peace that was already there. The quiet return to peace is like coming home after a long journey. The house is the same. The bed is the same. The light through the window is the same. But you see it differently now. You see it with the eyes of someone who has been away and is grateful to be back. You are home now. You are here. The journey is over. Let your body feel the bed beneath you. Let your breath be the only sound. Let the darkness wrap around you like a blanket you have known your whole life. Forgiveness is not about the other person. It is your body's quiet way of setting itself free. And tonight, the body is free. The heart is quiet. The mind is still. And you are at peace. Good night. Thank you for being here tonight, for listening, for resting, for allowing these quiet truths to drift through you. If you have not already fallen asleep, there is no rush. The facts will settle in their own time. The body will do its work. And the peace that began tonight will continue long after this recording ends. If you found this gentle, a like or a subscribe helps other sleepy souls find their way here. But there is no obligation, only an invitation. Sleep well, dream gently, and know that your body, right now, is already doing the quiet work of healing. Good night.